Welcome to the Cyber Rants Podcast, where we're all about sharing the forbidden secrets and slightly embellished truths about corporate cybersecurity programs. We're ranting, we're raving, and we're telling you the stuff that nobody talks about on their fancy website and trade show giveaways, all to protect you from cyber criminals. And now, here's your hosts, Mike Rotondo, Zach Fuller, and Lauro Chavez.
Hello and welcome to the Cyber Rants Podcast. This is your co-host, Zach Fuller, joined by Mike Rotondo and Lauro Chavez. Today we have a good episode. We're going to be talking a little bit about cybersecurity offense. Is there such a thing? Well, let's unpack it and find out shortly. But before we do, Mike, why don't you kick us off with the news?
Ukrainian hackers target vodka supply chain. Recognizing that vodka exports help fuel Russia's economy, hackers loyal to Ukraine turned their attention to Russia's supply chain that feeds into vodka production. Russian alcohol producers and distributors must register shipments to a Russian internet portal. Hackers have launched DDoS attacks to deny access to the website. The outage impacted not only vodka distribution, but also wine companies and purveyors of other types of alcohol. I know that's a horrible story to start the weekend with, but, start hoarding
the 13th. They took our vodka.
Yeah. People are going to have
start
to
hoarding
tequila instead. Tequila or scotch instead, people. Just move on. Vodka's dead.
Hackers are now hiding malware in Windows event logs. Yay. Security researchers have noticed a malicious campaign that uses Windows event logs or malware. A technique that has not been previously documented publicly for attacks in the wild. That method enabled the threat actor behind the attack to plant fileless malware in the file system, an attack filled with techniques and modules designed to keep the activity as stealthy as possible. We got another 3 stories on Microsoft here real quick, so I'm just going to hit the highlights. Cyber espionage attack drops post-exploit malware framework on Microsoft Exchange servers. Likely China-based state-sponsored threat actor has been deploying a sophisticated post-exploitation malware framework on Microsoft Exchange servers at organizations in the technology, academic, and government sectors since last fall. It's called Ice Apple. Microsoft May Windows update causes 80 authentication failures, and Microsoft Patch Tuesday updates for May 2022 fixes 3 0 days, and 1 is under active attack. See the above 80 authentication failure. Microsoft is investigating a known issue causing authentication failures for some Windows services after installing updates released during the May 2022 Patch Tuesday. This comes after what Windows admins started sharing reports of some policies failing after installing this month's securities updates with authentication failed due to the user credentials mismatch. Either the username provided is not mapped to an existing account or the password is incorrect. This issue impacts client and server Windows platforms and systems running all Windows versions, including the latest available releases of Windows 11 and Windows Server 2022. So definitely a concern.
Well, it's funny because I just sent an article to you guys the other day about Microsoft offering, it's hard for me to say that. Anyways, Microsoft offering their managed security services for other businesses. It's kind of,
yeah, I saw that too. It's like, okay, go ahead.
How about you fix your code before you start telling other people how to secure their Windows?
Exactly. All right, this is going to be the topic for today, but I do have a couple other things after that are important for you to look at. The offensive mindset is crucial for effective cyber defense. As ransomware attacks continue to increase and cyber criminals are becoming more sophisticated, the federal government has implemented a more proactive approach when it comes to cybersecurity. We'll see how well they do that. As evidenced by its stated strategy to adopt a zero trust architecture, the federal government is taking measures to reduce the risk of cyber attacks against its digital infrastructure and setting specific security goals for agencies to quickly detect, isolate, and respond to threats. The approach is also exemplified by the extension of the Industrial Control Systems Cybersecurity Initiative, which is aimed at facilitating the deployment of technologies and systems that provide cyber-related threat visibility indicators, detections, and warnings to the water infrastructure. An offensive mindset is key to ensuring the best cyber defense. To ensure success, there are 3 main components for organizations to consider when developing a defensive strategy based on an offensive cyber model: re-envisioning recruitment, thinking like a hacker, and promoting offensive training in tangent with defensive training. It's the government, so they want to do this. It'll probably be implemented in 2057, so who knows. FBI, CISA, and NSA warn of hackers increasingly targeting MSPs. This is a topic for another day, but MSPs are a privileged target for both nation-state actors and cyber criminals right now because you can take down one and you can take down many companies in the process. There's some good information on this. I'm not going to go into it too far in detail today. And lastly, researchers uncover URL spoofing flaws on Zoom, Box, and Google Docs. Researchers have discovered several URL spoofing bugs that would allow phishers to generate links to malicious content and make it look like it's hosted by an organization's SaaS account. Vulnerabilities arise for a lack of validation of so-called vanity URLs, and they allow attackers with their own SaaS accounts to change the URL of pages hosting malicious files, forums, and landing pages. So that's not good. Experts uncovered a new wave of attacks conducted by Mustang Panda, something to check out. The experts sound alarm on DC Rat backdoor being sold on Russian hacking forums. And there's a low rent rat out there that costs less than a Starbucks coffee, which is, I think, $37 now. So with that, Laura, what do we got?
Man, low rent rats. I like that. Rats.
Yeah.
Some of them are free. Why would you pay for the service of hosting that might get, I guess, whatever. I don't know. Hackers. This week for
script kiddies.
Yeah, I think that's probably more than
they have to make cybercrime accessible to everybody in today's environment. All right.
Exactly.
It's not politically correct if cyber criminals are only allowed to be the elite few, right? The 2%ers, right? We need to make sure everybody can be a criminal. So let's lower the price eventually. Wonderful.
It's called equity.
Can't disagree with that. The world will never cease to amaze you the darker you get on the internet. Let me tell you. Okay, so F5, big IP, this week has a remote code execution. So this is CVE 2022-1388. If you got an F5 big IP, make sure you're getting off of the 16.0 version. There is a really good POC done by Yeshis Alvarez, and it is solid, and it will certainly deliver whatever execution payloads you want to send to the F5. So make sure if you've got that running that you're getting off of that version today. There's other POCs also available on the Git community for that. If you're running an Intel product, like many of you probably are in the world today, then it's probably mindful to know that there is an Optane SSD and an Optane data center product 0-day essentially vulnerability that allows a local attacker. I will say that. So before you get all spun out of place, when you see your executive read this in the headline news and he sends it down to the security team, like, we got a patch right now. Just remember that these vulnerabilities, 33078, 33077, and 33080, all dealing with these basically privileged access using the Intel chip flaw. You have to be localized. Okay, so they have to be hands on the keyboard, physically at the machine or the server in order to accomplish this. So keep that in mind, right? Don't get spun out. However, it is quite alarming that this type of attack can happen. And then finally, for all my Google Chrome fans out there, get off of version 78039 because there is a remote code execution for that as well. Get pulled into a page that's hosting this exploit. It's going to run in your browser and you're going to be able to execute code local on your machine. So make sure you're updating your Google Chrome. This week, there are several POCs out there available for this. The one by Deadlock's probably the one that looks, I think, probably the most solid that's going to work for the bad guys. But there are a lot of 90+% working POCs for this Chrome exploit. So make sure you stay at legitimate sites, turn on your browser extensions for the security and privacy, and also update your Chrome. All right, Zach, we got something fun to talk about today.
We do. And just as a quick reminder to everybody, all the news articles are posted at cyberrantspodcast.com. Again, cyberrantspodcast.com. You can go there, you can click the links, go straight to the source and get more information yourself. And you can also leave us a message, ask questions, all that good stuff right there through the website or through LinkedIn or many other channels, Carrier Pigeon, all kinds of good stuff. So that being said, let's take a quick break and we will be right back talking about offensive cybersecurity.
Want even more Cyber Rants? Be sure to subscribe to the Cyber Rants podcast. Get your copy of our best-selling book, Cyber Rants, on Amazon today. This podcast is brought to you by Silent Sector, the firm dedicated to building world-class cybersecurity programs for mid-market and emerging companies across the U.S. Silent Sector also provides industry-leading penetration tests and cyber risk assessments. Visit silentsector.com and contact us today.
And we're back. You guys ready? Ready?
Sure, why not?
All right. Don't sound so enthusiastic.
Hey, man, we're out of vodka. Ukrainian hackers. What is there to look forward to?
It's all downhill from here.
It's the Drake meme. It's like no to Russian oil, but Russian vodka. Yeah.
Yeah, really. Yeah, I think it's great. I mean, there's vodka made in plenty of other places, and we can support those places. So
yeah, I'm pretty sure everybody has potatoes.
It may not be up to your vodka standards, but
yeah, or it might be higher than your normal standards have been.
Well, that implies I have standards.
There you go. There you go. If it doesn't have chunks of potato in it, you don't drink it.
When I lived there, that's actually had like floating pieces of potato in the vodka you got for 3 rubles.
That's pretty
So it was also 1,800 rubles to the dollar, so you could buy 600 bottles of vodka for $1.
Wow,
that's LIVIN right there.
At those exchange rates too, it's pretty hard to buy a strainer. So so you might as well just deal with the chunks of potato. But anyway, this is not a vodka show, popular or just against all common belief here. It's actually a cybersecurity show. So we will talk about, the topic of, and this is excellent with that article. His article was titled offensive, I forget the title exactly, offensive cybersecurity measures, being taken. And we have to unpack that, right? Because a lot of people ask, and this is straight out of the Cyber Rants book. So for those of you who have read the book, outstanding, you're a step ahead. You're going to have heard some of this before, just in different words. That being said, I mean, is offensive cybersecurity really a thing for the common folks out there, most of them?
I honestly think it's a misnomer, in that you can't be offensive, in that you can't go attack, you can't go preemptively strike, you can't go, do those things that you would think of from a offensive standpoint in either sports or war. But you can train your people to be able to be offensive minded in order to identify attacks and deal with them properly. And I think there has to be a hybrid model between completely passive and active defense versus offense. Active defense is a better term than offense.
Yeah, I think that there's a misnomer, because I think, really what we called this in the industry for a long time, what we were trying to get companies to move to was a proactive cybersecurity mindset, right? Being forward thinking, not sitting there being idle handed, doing nothing, waiting for approvals or the worst case scenario to happen. Offensive sounds way cooler. Yeah. But I agree with you in the term that it was meant for in our field. It was for, red team versus blue team, right? Offense versus defense. And it was for active attacks that you can't go and do. You're not going to go, that maybe the government is going to be, the government can be offensive against hackers in Russia and in China and those places, right? Us that are handling the business, backbone of the country, we don't do that. That's not something that we do, right? Unless you can go play at the cyber warfare range on your spare time.
Right.
What is spare time?
I'm not getting that
term. We're too busy being proactive with cybersecurity. I mean, there's no time for play.
That's not a term in the CISSP glossary in the back. I didn't see that in there. Any spare time.
Yeah. Well, you got to think this is an American, here in the United States, we have, a lot of, sports, right? So offense versus defense is a term that everybody gets, right? It's,
right.
Expect what the bad guy's doing. And I think that's really what the misnomer is that you need to understand your enemy. And I think that's probably what a lot of organizations don't. I don't think the cybersecurity professionals do, but the leadership probably does not understand the enemy.
I don't think they put the level of thought into it. I think they just think that it's like somebody else has thought of this. All I have to do is buy the tool and then it'll take care of it.
Right.
I honestly don't think they think it through.
Yeah, and I think, in relation to the article, it does say offensive mindset, and I think that's good because we're starting to think about how the attackers are thinking, right? So we could certainly have offensive security internally in terms of like red team, blue team exercises, but really that's just the training for the real battle, the true battle, right? And so we're always going to be the defenders, but yeah, that mindset piece. I know we talk a lot about security awareness training and some of those mechanisms to get people to keep security top of mind. So no need to dive into that too deep, but I really think that's where it starts. But even actually, that's not where it starts. It starts with leadership's decision to be offensive minded, right? If they're not doing that, if they're not putting the resources in, nobody's going to in the organization.
Yeah, there was actually a bill before Congress, and I think it was last year, and I think I actually touched on it. We touched on it in the book. That was actually talking about allowing people to go back after hackers. Like if someone came and DDoS you, you could go attack them. And I think that wiser heads or cooler heads prevailed and realized that having a bunch of sysadmins at all the different companies in the world attacking and counterattacking probably wasn't a good idea.
It's a terrible idea. They're attacking a target at a perfectly legitimate company that's already been compromised, and now that poor organization's getting smashed twice or more times. That would just be. I think it would crash the internet. I think the internet would go down worldwide if everybody was hacking everybody. It would just be. I think the face of the earth would just catch on fire.
I'm pretty sure we're close to that today, because I think there's just a lot of activity going on. But the industry used to, like, when the first technology appliance came out, and it could be arguably discussed whether it was a firewall, which is in a lot of organizations, it's like, who owns the firewall rules? Is it the security team or is it the network team? Blah 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 is a big argument. But I think really probably one of the first security appliances that officially came out to do defensive based understanding of packet inspection was the intrusion detection system, right? IDS, right? You see the abbreviation for it all the time. Well, it was defensive in nature, hence intrusion detection. It would detect an intrusion, hopefully, and alert a like-minded security individual to go and investigate that. And that was considered to be a proactive tool. That was offensive security of the late 90s, early 2000s, where you would deploy this device and you had people watching it, and it would tell you if something acted out of the normal, hopefully, if you had it tuned right. And then, technology heads figured that, well, let's not wait for a human to analyze the attack, figure out if it's a real attack or if it's a false positive. And then in the meantime, we're getting attacked. Let's give the device the capability to return and retaliate, right? This is a true offensive device now. What happened, Mike? They wouldn't let you turn it on.
Right.
I probably have a lot of security people laughing right now, but like, how many of you remember having the IDS, IPS come out? And it's like, oh, it's preventative now. We can smash at anybody that tries to attack the front interface. And leadership saying, no, we can't have that. We're gonna get a lawsuit. You gotta turn that off. Just leave it on detection.
Yeah. They don't let us play with our toys.
No, they never do. But I think that,
but they'll spend money on them. That's a dumb thing.
It's a write-off. You know what I mean? It's like, it's a loss. Yeah, well, the guy, he couldn't deploy, he couldn't figure it out, so we had to write it off. That's what it was. That's what it was. We didn't have a competent engineer. It wasn't the leadership's fault at all. But
never.
Okay, we're not smashing on non-technical leaders, I promise. But listen to your technical folks. And speaking of listening to your technical folks, that's, I think, something that we bring to the table when we couple with a client. Not shameless plug for the book and our services here, but we're trying to get the organization to be proactive as immediately as possible. So when Silent Sector engages with you, there's two things that we do right up front that could be considered offensive, right, quote unquote, in nature for cybersecurity. And that is, number one, we're going to start doing vulnerability scanning to your external and internal networks immediately, right? Your web applications, all that. Start getting looked at and scrutinized by a third-party tool that's not yours, your people didn't manage, and you have no insight or control over, right? We're going to give an independent review of vulnerabilities and risk posture immediately. And then we're also going to throw your people in training, right? And that's, I think that's all companies need to be doing that, right? You don't need to couple with us to do that. That's just good, proactive, offensive security mindset to train your people. Start looking at your systems from, the external perspective first and foremost, and then internally as well.
Well, then we're going to train you to navigate the internal relationships with management, to teach you how to deal with, to explain how these are things that are important and how to get your way a little bit more, because we've fought those battles for a long time. And so I think we have a little more experience than the average cybersecurity engineer out there.
Yeah, when it comes to fighting the leadership, that leadership fight, I think that we also give very good navigation there. That's no more shame, no more plugs. Let's get back to that.
I prefer
to
call
I was just
it
going to say, it benefits, a third party benefits, and this sounds like this is anybody, a consultant, anybody with termed a consultant that has a briefcase, comes from more than 100 miles away, suddenly has, for whatever reason, more influence and cachet than the internal resources, for whatever reason, right? They just can, for whatever reason, management's like, oh, he's a consultant, or she's a consultant or whatever, and they'll tend to buy in. We've seen this through our careers
times. Oh gosh, so much. It's it's rampant out there in the industry and here's the thing is, I think leadership doesn't trust their people because leadership doesn't understand what their people really do. Right. And so there's this, it's like if you're, the old mindset of, and this is probably still common too. And so the, misogynistic methods of male mechanics getting over on a female that brings her vehicle in that doesn't know what could be wrong. And then the mechanic will try to oversell you things that you don't need. And this doesn't just happen to females. It happens to anybody who's non-mechanically inclined, right? That you go in and they're like, well, you got to, the ball joint on your U-joint is starting to unjoint. So we got to add these three things here. It's going to be an extra $900, but you don't want to have a wreck. And they'll buy that, right? And so I think this, the whiz bangs, right? I think the generations that are some in these high leadership positions, they don't understand what their technicians are doing, and therefore it's hard for them to buy into what they're telling them. So they'll spend double the money to have an outside consultant, like you said, come in from 100 miles an hour, wearing a briefcase, telling the exact same thing that they were told by their internal, confirm the story basically, and then they'll go forward with the budgets or new tools or training. And it's unfortunately, don't, if you're listening to this and you're a leader, don't get yourself in that situation. Listen to your people. That's what you pay them to do.
I would say though,
go ahead, Zach.
I was just going to throw in though, just to point out, there are certainly situations where it makes sense for leadership to have a second opinion, right? Before making major investments. Maybe the internal people made the same recommendation, but don't have the full visibility or level of expertise to actually go, follow through with strategy and implementation and all that, but they know what needs to be done. So I think there are, to stand up, for the leadership, bit here, there are cases where it makes sense to validate your internal assumptions or internal, because they may be fully in agreement and just need that third party recommendation. There's also a legal component to that as well in some cases where it does make sense to bring in some unbiased third party view for certain situations and get that those recommendations verbally, but also in writing too. So
it's transference of risk. I mean, if you do that,
exactly.
Right? You're sharing risk.
Totally.
And it's not to bag on the consulting class, but I mean, there's just certain consulting companies out there, and there's certain companies that just, oh, you're a big four company, then obviously you know more than my people, and it's kind of I think it's more of almost like a personal thing. It's like I've seen it happen so many times.
Is it personal? I was going to say, boys, I think we rode our horses off the range here a bit. We should come back.
Offensive security, offensive mindset and security.
And I was just going to say, if it's a good way to get promoted, to rub it in your boss's face that you were right the entire time, and he just spent a bunch of money on a consultant. So that's always a good way.
There you go. So it can work for you. So don't be
totem assault. Yeah, just write him a letter, say totem assault. A totem assault.
You say that like you've been through it, Mike.
I would never do something like that. Never.
Mike's having flashbacks over here, and we need to get you some vodka, just not Russian vodka.
It's a Polish.
Anyway, well, I think offensive mindset is everything. I think for you look at, if you take it from kind of a military perspective and combat scenarios, that sort of thing, you're always thinking, okay, we're going to go in, we're going to move through this terrain. We're looking at obstacles and avenues of approach and cover concealment factors, all these different things. And what is the enemy going to do to use those same features to their advantage, to increase their strength? And I think we need to use that mindset, think like the enemy. And one thing we have to mention in this episode, when we're thinking like the enemy, a lot of people don't realize this still, but it's over, I think, I don't know what the latest exact percentage is based off the studies, but basically it's over 85% of cyber attacks, probably over 90% at this point, are financially motivated attacks. So they're after money, meaning they need to find targets that produce a return on investment. That's their first mindset. We are here. This is a business for us. It's just like, the drug cartels, right? It is a business for them. They need to make money. That's what they're after. Everything else is secondary. A lot of people are still caught up in this notion that, all of this stuff that's happening, it's, cyber warfare and hacktivism and things. Yes, those things occur, but it's the minority of attacks. And for most of our audience, most of the organizations we're speaking with across the US are really, you're not really at a huge risk for hacktivism type attacks or cyber warfare or anything. You're really at a risk of attacks that are financially driven. So remember that first, and I'm going to get off my high horse.
Tom's bait shop in Mobile is not a Russian target.
Well, no, depends on what's going on in the basement,
Yeah.
But I could we'll shut the bait shop down though, and say, and start extorting them for money to unlock their systems.
Right.
Exactly.
So I think, maybe we should say this, and maybe some of our audience probably understands this, but and then I'm certainly not trying to, because you threw in the cartels in this conversation. I'm not trying to compare the internet to Mexico, but what I'm saying is that when you're active on the fabric of the known public internet of things, you are operating in a place that not only you probably only understand, even if an engineer level, so much, and if at a neophyte level or just a user level, so minimal that you can't fathom the dangers that befall you as you go on your quest to go to Google and look for a new water filter for your refrigerator. You have absolutely no idea the work that these cyber criminals have put in place, been doing, right, and advancing and revolutionizing essentially the attack surfaces over the last 25 years that the internet has been a popular place for us to utilize and share. So if you think about it like a cartel perspective, these cyber criminals have worked to put botnets in places over time so that they have not just one or two, they have hundreds of them. And they've over time taken over small organizations and small compute resources that don't really flag anything, but then can be utilized together to carry out certain types of attacks, deploy malware, act as command and control for things like ransomware and the R-Evil, the locker virus, those types of things that are going to deploy ransomware to your systems. All that stuff lies await in there. You might as well be walking through an Indiana Jones temple full of snakes and scorpions and giant beetles that'll bite your feet. I mean, it is quite literally the same environment. People don't see it because you're only looking through the lens of your browser, and you only see what the browser is allowing you to see that's out there on the fabric of the internet.
Well, yeah, I can tell you how many people are like, "Oh, the dark web's got to be so cool," and it's like, no, you don't go there unless you know what you're doing.
Yeah, no, and it's actually not cool. It's old tech. For everybody who wonders what it looks like, it looks like a BBS system from the 90s, and a lot of these web pages are so basic, right? It's more board driven. It's more of a between place to meet and gather quickly, efficiently, privately, and then go someplace else. So that's really what I think the bad guys are using it for. But there are, obviously there have been marketplaces and popular places that have been there. But today it's more of an elusive place to meet, get ops, and leave, and then don't leave your your onion site available anymore, right? So they're tore down typically afterwards.
But it's been romanticized in,
Oh,
popular
totally.
culture that, to be so much out there. But
a lot of it's
I
FBI. A lot of it's FBI flagging at this point. I think, there's a lot of fake pages out there that are trying to lure people into trying to get, murder for hire type situations that they can come arrest you because you're an idiot. Right. So yeah, you're literally, if you're a user, you need to, most people even engineers need to stay off the dark, right? There's no reason to be there. We research, based on data leakage and of course, looking for, new exploits that are being offered as part of payment. I think it's the only really benefit that we see out of it.
I remember being at a ISC Squared conference and the FBI was talking and the guy said, John Wick doesn't exist. I am John Wick on the dark web. It's like, wow. Because going back to your FBI, I mean, that's really what's out there. I mean, you're not going to find the Continental Hotel and,
no, it's like, that stuff's not, you guys, this isn't Slenderman. You guys need to calm down right out there. Stay off the dark net. But but there is literally a lot of, I mean, it's like being an animal and walking through a trapper's, area where they've laid a bunch of traps for you. And that's if you're not specific, and it happens. I see it with my parents. I'm not sure about you guys, but my parents are older, and so they're very limited in their knowledge of places. And so my dad will be like, well, I need a new water filter for the refrigerator. And, he'll look at something and be, his browser will force him to a page and he'll see a ad for like the same water filter for like $1.99 and he'll click on it and he'll be like, it sent me to this Google login page and it asked me to log into Google to get to it. I was like, no, no, you don't. Don't log into Google. No, go back. Let's just get it off of Amazon. So these attacks are designed to ensnare the unknowing person into, they'll use everything from discounts to unobtainable things like no wrinkles for, no aging, all this stuff, right? Renewable water sources, renewable energy. Anything that you can think of, there's a trap laid in that space for a human that is going to find or wanting to find information on the specific topic. They have a trap set for every topic out there.
Well, and even if, to go a little darker, even the porn sites and the pictures of the top 10 hottest women of all time and those kind of board sites are
always
basis for phishing and ransomware and malware and
everything else. Yeah, absolutely. And scare ransoms, right? Where they'll use your video camera to film you while you're doing various things, right? And then try to extort you for money. So but again, I don't think humans that are operators out there really understand the threat. And so I think that offensive mindset and a proactive mindset's important because again, it's like looking through the universe through our telescope. Okay, we can only see very specific frequencies. That's it. So your web browser is that frequency that you're looking into the public internet of things, and it's a very limited view for you to understand what's happening there. And so keep in mind that there are other things happening. Like if you believe in ghosts and you're like, well, you have to see them through a infrared lens with a bubble. This is exactly what's happening here. There are ghosts waiting to scare you and do other things to you, extort you for money out there on the internet.
The ghosts of the internet. I think isn't that a Kevin Mitnick book? The Ghosts in the Wire. Sorry.
And then Ghost in the Machine was an anime, which exactly.
We got to wrap it up here. But one final thing I'll add, and then curious to hear your final thoughts as well. But I think organizations don't do enough of this, and I think it's a valuable activity to do. I think open source intelligence research to find out what, not on the dark web, but just on the general internet, where are you already exposed? Where's there information out there that a attacker could use to potentially compromise your organization? And so when you start to learn about even just what you can get through just using Google Boolean searches and things like that, and some of the different deep net really is what it is. It's not dark web, it's deep net, but it's all through your normal browser. What can you get out there? And you might find that your company has a bunch of things like PDF files of internal company documents and different information that's just been put up in different places over the years that can actually be found if you know how to look for it the right way. And some of that stuff can be compromising. So we find that on organizations. So if you haven't considered open source intelligence research as part of your active defense, that would be my final tip of the day. Mike, Lauro, anything else before we wrap?
No, training, policy, procedure, all these things are definitely will put you in a more offensive or proactive mindset. So just be aware out there. There's threats. There's really no safe place on the internet.
Not anymore. No, and I'll back what Mike says. Training, vulnerability scanning. Make sure that if you can do the OSINT research. And again, I think email protection is very important today. There's a lot of phishing attacks that are going to come from leadership that will go down to a person saying, I need you to go out and buy a bunch of gift cards today. So train your people to scrutinize messages that have urgency and other types of strange, emotional driven kind of wording to drive an emotional response instead of a logical one for them to go do something that's going to get some bad guys some money on your company. So certainly train your humans. And unfortunately there's not really many safe places out there anymore.
Outstanding. Well, thank you everyone for joining us on the Cyber Rants podcast. Again, check out the website, cyberrantspodcast.com. Reach out, please subscribe, rate the show, share it so we can get the word out, and share this information with more people so that they can help secure themselves, their organizations, their families, and we can do better active defense, right? Even if we can't be truly offensive, let's learn how to defend ourselves and think like the attackers. So have a great day. We will be out the next couple weeks. A lot of things going on, good stuff happening. But that being said, we'll be out the next couple weeks and we'll be back shortly with more episodes of the Cyber Rants podcast. Have a great day.
We will miss you.
Pick up your copy of the Cyber Rants book on Amazon today. And if you're looking to take your cybersecurity program to the next level, visit us online at www.silentsector.com. Join us next time for another edition of the Cyber Rants podcast.